I wanted to make a video on the creative process and specifically on what happens when you start critiquing yourself pretty harshly. So right now I've been working on this essay and it's titled Kanye West as Peter Thiel's Straussian Movement. You may recognize Peter Thiel from the last video I did, but he's this Silicon Valley rock star who co-founded PayPal and Palantir, PayPal with Elon Musk, and was the angel investor in Facebook and has pretty much become like one of the biggest names in tech. And Kanye West, you've probably heard of him. He's the famous rapper who married Kim Kardashian, now getting a divorce, and just I think one of the most revolutionary musicians and artists of her time. So the point of the essay, without trying to give it away, is that Kanye West's religious revival is actually, I think, a return to these kinds of first questions. Like who are we? What are we doing on Earth? Like, what is the purpose of living? What is meaning to life? And that's kind of interesting because Peter Thiel wrote an essay in 2019 called The Straussian Movement that talks about how we in Western society, not Kanye West, but Western society, kind of have come to this place of moral relativism where we're like, let's not ask these questions because they do have serious consequences. What is the meaning of life if you're a Christian has a very different purpose than an atheist? And if you're an atheist trying to work with a Christian on a project and you know that one has a fundamental disagreement with you may not be able to work on that project. And in today's society, I think we value the ability to be cohesive, or this is what Peter Thiel says. Peter Thiel says we value the ability to be cohesive, especially if that cohesion results in creating more capital or creating a better economics result than if we're fighting. And I think most people probably kind of, at least in today's society, in the quote-unquote West, once again not Kanye, probably agree with that sentiment. But as Peter Thiel kind of explains in his essay, when you start getting into this moral relativism, you start losing meaning completely. And it's kind of like that song "Losing My Religion," where the point is you lose your mind. That's kind of what that song's about, and that's kind of what Peter Thiel alludes to in his essay. You'll have to read my essay to hear my real thoughts. And I think that Kanye started experiencing that, and then that's why he in 2019 has become this like evangelist for what he believes to be the capital T truth in society, which is his Christian faith. And he's actually trying to live according to his Christian faith, which is tough because we live in a secular society. And that's kind of the point of the essay. But what I started to do once I got more into the essay is I realized, like, wow, there's the school of thought called the Straussians, which is what Peter Thiel's essay is titled. It's called the Straussian Movement. And that's kind of this rejecting moral relativism stuff. They're a huge philosophical group with like so much literature, and it's all so intense. And Kanye West is similarly a pretty intense character. Like he's got so many fans who know so much about him, and they're kind of like experts in how Kanye is and how he's evolved over time. And the point I'm trying to get at is there are experts on both sides, and as you start going from having this creative idea that you think is smart, for me, which is drawing the parallels between the two, as I became an expert in both of the individual subjects, I started to realize more and more, like, wow, is this really, like, would the Straussians agree with this? Would an OG Yeezy fan say I'm wrong here? Would some of the more modern Yeezy fans be like, okay, how can you say Kanye does this, or that when you really don't know Kanye? Or how do you know if the Straussians believe this when that was just Peter Thiel's version of Straussianism? And it's a huge, like, question for me, because the more I became informed, the more I started to self-doubt. And I think that, at least for me, as someone who views himself as creative, I think that once you let that self-doubt get into your creative idea, it just makes everything go astray, because at that point your head starts to think, okay, what am I doing? Like, is this a good idea? Is this actually smart? Is this like an interesting perspective that people want to hear? Is this something that, like, am I grasping a little too hard? And I think what I realized is that for me, as someone who was already informed about Peter Thiel and already informed about Kanye West, like when I originally had this idea, I thought it was like really fascinating and interesting. And the majority of the world's people will find it interesting because, you know, they probably don't have a great knowledge on both of them together. Like there's probably very few people who are experts in Strauss and experts in Kanye West. And, you know, I'd love to make, I think those people who are experts would find my essay interesting, or at least give critical feedback. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is that, you know, the solution is, of course, just keep working and writing it. But then once you let that sell, it's the battle no longer is just how do I write this essay. This battle is how do I write this essay and defeat my self-doubt. And I think that's where, you know, I think the creative person really struggles. It's when they have to fight not only the specific task, but, you know, if you're a creative person, you build things up in your head. And when you build those things up in your head, they become challenges. So the challenge is not just defeating the assignment, I guess, itself, or what I'm trying to write, but also trying to get over that need for perfectionism and that need to, you know, please people on both sides, and just get it out there and see what the world thinks, because I think that the world would find it interesting. Anyway, I don't know if this is, you know, something you guys relate to personally. If you have this, I guess I would call it paralysis by analysis, but it's a little different. This is like paralysis by analysis meets perfectionism. And let me know if you feel that at all, because I'd love to hear it. And thanks, guys, for watching, and take care. Bye.